Nice. Hey, this week I wanted to use my jacuzzi and I pushed my Easy Touch remote control and the temperature on the remote control showed 239/99. So my temperature is set for 99, but of course the heater will never come on if the water is reading 239 degrees. And so my first thought was the mice getting to my water heater and chewing some of my wires. Because I see on YouTube that other people had issues with their with rodents getting into their water heater. So I removed these little 4 screws. There's like a clamshell top, and there's 2 screws on top, 2 screws on bottom. There's 4 screws. Pretty easy, and it just comes off like a clamshell. And of course, once I opened it up, there was a ton of debris in here, leaves and branches and lots of mouse dropping all over to here. It's all cleaned up now. I vacuumed it all up already. But and then of course after doing that, I looked at all my wires to make sure all my wires were intact. And lucky for me, they were. But some people on YouTube, they weren't so lucky. So today, before I close it up again, I'm going to try to mouse proof this thing. So I bought this a big roll of galvanized wire mesh. These are 1/2-inch opening. I made this little things so I could cover this heat vent over here. I'll show you that once it's installed. And then using the same roll of wire mesh, I also made this little, like sort of like a little barrier. I'm gonna put it right here because, as you can see, there's a huge gaping hole under here. And this would be a perfect nesting place for mice because, once you use a heater, this is nice and toasty and warm. They're sheltered from the element, and nice little hole here. So I'm gonna try to put this wire mesh right in there. So I'll show you that in a second. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. So you can see my little wire mesh here, and then of course this little wire square. Yeah, I had to put a little slit here in order to slide it over the shaft here. But I'm gonna go and zip tie this with my stainless steel zip tie. You could probably also just use regular metal wire of some sort and crimp it together. But I happen to have these little metal wire ties, so I'm gonna use that because I imagine it gets pretty hot here. So, all right. Now, if you have a little more patience, you could probably do a better job of closing all those little gaps. But I still have little gaps here, and so I've been filling these little gaps with this little metal, this thing here called the Excluder. I have a whole roll of this I bought on it's eBay or Amazon, but it's called Excluder. It's like plastic with wire embedded. This is used to, I guess, fill gaps and stuff where rodents could get into your house. And so I happen to have some of this that I bought, but I'll put it in my description, the exact spelling. But it's called the Excluder. So you cut to whatever size you want, and so I'm going to use this to kind of fill in the rest of the little gaps here that I have that the mice could possibly get into. So I didn't want to use too much of that Excluder because I want to at least promote some airflow. I didn't want to have a solid wall here. So that's the reason for the wire mesh. Anyways, and then this is what it looks like so far. I tied this thing with my stainless steel zip tie. And by the way, if you're not sure what model water heater you have, if you open up the clamshell, there's this thing that's pasted on your water heater. Underneath it, it tells you what model your water heater is. So mine is a Sta Rite SR400NA water heater. So this is like also tell what kind of water heater you have. Alright guys, I close up my water heater. So this is what it looks like from underneath. Again, I stuffed this little gaps over here, like with the Excluder stuff. And then I stuffed the front of this wire mesh with this copper scrubbing pads, just so that it leans flat up against the shell. Without it left a kind of a gap there for them to go underneath the wire mesh. So I stuffed at each side with this copper scrubbing pads. I imagine you could use stainless steel scrubbing pads too, along with it, because they can tolerate the heat of this exhaust. So anyways, that's what it looks like.